Amazing. Okay. So this is our new campaign, Mask Off Maersk. It is a campaign that calls on the logistics company Maersk to cut its ties with genocide. I'm going to speed through this, but if you are local to KW, we are going to be having teach-ins on this, and you can find out more on PYM Toronto, and we'll go more into depth on the campaign. So just to do a small political grounding on this moment, we are entering in just a few weeks 1 year into this horrific genocide. And we collectively are part of a political movement. Political movements go through movements of growth and consolidation. And the Palestine movement globally has just gone through and is still going through, despite this being a year, a movement of massive growth. Since October, we've seen collectively that we've been taking actions against many different targets through things like mass marches, arms factory pickets, train shutdowns, student encampments, departments of businesses and trade shutdowns, student walkouts, and more across Canada. Through our actions, we have made Palestine unavoidable. We've popularized arms embargo as a demand, and internationally, the movement for Palestine is stronger than ever. For the first time in 75 years, our struggle, the Palestinian struggle, is a popular struggle. We are inspired by the arms embargo campaigns, actions, and initiatives that have challenged the manufacturing arms of major weapons manufacturers around the world, from Lockheed Martin to General Dynamics to Elbit Systems. And 11 months into this genocide, it's really important that we are also thinking about consolidation and how we are building the muscle to be able to carry the struggle forward. For the long term, how we are moving ourselves, our people, and our organizations from mobilizing to organizing. We are about to enter a new phase of the Palestinian struggle, and what we believe is needed in this phase is a level of high organization, coordination, and strategy. When politicians and arms companies refuse to enforce an arms embargo, we need to take matters into our own hands and add another tactic to the existing ones. We need to disrupt the global flow of arms sales ourselves. We need to enforce an arms embargo from above and from below. We need to enforce a people's arms embargo. We believe that through the current approach that I will be presenting, that we will be able to consolidate towards a target that benefits all the current campaigns and approaches for an arms embargo. And this is because through targeting Maersk, we won't just be going after one arms company, but many arms companies at the same time. Maersk is the second largest and one of the most prominent logistics companies that transports weapons and weapons components to and for the 5 major weapons manufacturers. Maersk takes weapons and parts through our cities, our highways, and our ports in Canada, so-called Canada, the US, and across Europe, and brings them directly into Israel's hand to murder the people of Gaza. In other words, by targeting Maersk, a logistics company, we are targeting the common denominator to interrupt the global supply chain and working with and building on all of the amazing work that is happening and has happened to create pressure for an arms embargo. So I'm going to play a short video really quickly. Many of you guys have probably seen this. Can you hear it when I just played it? No? No sound? Okay. We can skip the video. Let me go into why logistics. Why are we targeting a logistics company, and why is logistics important in the fight for not just ending the genocide, not just a ceasefire, but for liberation of Palestine and liberation globally? For a lot of people, this might be the first time you've thought about the role of logistics companies in the arms supply chain. And I'll be building more on the role of logistics companies in sustaining the imperial war machine. What is Maersk? Maersk is an integrated container logistics and supply chain service based in Copenhagen and is the largest shipping company in the world. Why would we target Maersk? Why would we target logistics? Most of us in the global north, and especially us living in the imperial core, experience logistics as consumers. Logistics are tucked away and mystified. The simplest definition of logistics is the management of the flow of goods between the point and origin of consumption. Logistics are entire networks of infrastructures, technology, space, workers, and violence that makes the circulation of stuff possible. Logistics as an industry presents itself as a running expert, technical expert that makes global production and trade more efficient. It is depoliticized and civilianized. But to truly understand logistics and why we are targeting logistics in its original military strategy, we need to go back through history. And this is going to be a very, 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 very brief overview. But this is the painting, a painting called American Progress Painting by John Gast. So why this painting and why specifically in relation to logistics? So you have some symbols here. You have horse-drawn wagons, you have railroad and trains and ships. It is not a coincidence that the infrastructure of logistics are also some of the most prominent symbols of empire. Settlement, i.e. the war of displacement, is not possible without supply chains and without logistics. These lines on this current graph are the British Empire's key maritime routes, along which they laid the cable for the telegraph. Before the internet, people relied on telegraph cables, which would become phone lines, and these were laid at the bottom of our seas in oceans in order to improve the British ability to manage or quell any resistance from the entities that it colonized. The first cables were laid across the Atlantic between France and Algeria and Britain and India. So what does this tell us? Technological development was always structured by the needs of the empire. Some historians actually argue that the cables that the British laid down in the oceans and seas were more important than the steamship or the railways to control their colonies, because it enabled the gathering of strategic intelligence and enabled the projection of the power of the empire. The telegraph and cable lines also allowed for the creation of world markets because the quick transmission of prices was possible through telegraph messages. Soon, the telegraph and telephone became a commercial everyday technology for people's use, just like time zones and Wi-Fi and radio and other forms of technology. Recounting the history of development of these communication technologies like cable, telegraph, and telephone, the internet and information is important because modern military and corporate logistics actually rely on the effective communication through these routes. We should actually understand corporate logistics, the corporate logistics sector, in which Maersk is one of the most important key players, as an afterlife or outgrowth of the technologies of empire and capitalism. Without logistics, global capitalism wouldn't function. Without Maersk, Amazon wouldn't exist. Without Maersk, Walmart wouldn't exist. Their business models rely on the quick transport of commodities, consumer goods from their place of production to where they're sold according to demand. Without Maersk, this business model would not be possible. So this is just a few excerpts from Maersk's website, where they describe the role that they played in profiting off of the different world wars. It shows you how Maersk played a role in the wars themselves. And in World War II specifically, it was the major fleet for which the Germans were able to ship their weapons. Today, logistics companies are protected by critical infrastructure laws and are considered sites of national security. Imperialism has always been about protecting the smooth flow of wealth coming in commodities for the world market. So, Maersk's reach. Maersk is making over $50 billion in revenue as they are all over the world and ship all over the world. This is what Maersk is materially. America wouldn't be able to draw value from all over the world without the infrastructure that Maersk provides it. Maersk is the infrastructure of empire, and they are guilty of all things that extraction and exploitation are around the world. And just contrasting this between the map we saw prior, there are a lot of similarities between these lines and the lines that we saw previously. So a question that will come up is probably why Maersk, and I apologize for speeding through this, it's a lot of information, but I want to be sensitive to the time I was given. So why Maersk and why now? We want to target Maersk because we want to disrupt the flow of weapons and that make the genocide in Gaza and Palestine possible. Interrupting the chain will block the Zionist entity from acquiring arms that are targeting our people. We also want to popularize Maersk the same way that you hear SodaStream and think of BDS. And we want to push the narrative that they are evil by exposing their complicity in the genocide and the role that logistics companies play globally through the arms trade. Logistics companies are the ones that are shipping weapons and equipment to the front lines, which are then killing our people. Maersk is considered one of the most profitable companies on earth, and it is literally profiting off of the death of Palestinians. We also want to think beyond a ceasefire. If Maersk does not cut ties with the Zionist entity, they will still profit off of our people's death once there is, hopefully, a ceasefire reached. This campaign will allow us to push past just supporting a ceasefire and highlight the necessity of a completely liberated Palestine. So, oh, did I go backwards? I did. Okay, so why Maersk is our target? The global arms supply chain is one that is decentralized. So you have compartments or parts of weapons that are being manufactured globally. So parts of F-35, for example, some are made in Italy and some are then made in India. These are then transported to the United States. And then from the United States, they are then transported to Israel. 68% of Israel's weapons comes from the United States. So logistics companies are responsible for moving these different parts of weapons and making it possible to reach into the hands of the Zionist entity to then use against our people. Maersk is an industry leader and one of the biggest logistic companies in the world. Since October, as was mentioned in the introduction, they have transported over $300 million worth of weapons for the top 5 weapons manufacturers to the US, making them directly complicit in the genocide. However, at the same time, Maersk is a logistics company that has many parts of its business. Only 14% of their profits come from the weapons trade. So transporting weapons is not actually a major part of Maersk's business, but it is a part of the business that is crucial for the arms supply chain. So we believe because that it is only a part of this business, it can be isolated and targeted and effectively dropped. We really believe that this campaign is both impactful and winnable. And through our collective efforts, we can take out the biggest player in the game. So here are just some 4 reasons why Maersk is our target in relation to the movement. So it just demonstrates movement strength if we are able to consolidate the transnational. Sorry? Oh, thanks, I'm just muted. So it demonstrates movement strength if we're able to consolidate a transnational movement for Palestine by bringing in existing coalitions like the existing arms embargo and energy embargo work. We are able to then show the strength that Palestinian movement has globally. Maersk is complicit in a number of ways. So they've been contracted by the Department of Defense in the US and also by different ministries in the United Kingdom for contracts. In addition to transport weapons and weapon components, they also greenwash and pinkwash their crimes. Number 3, Maersk as a target enables us to employ diverse tactics. It is a transnational industry leader, meaning if they refuse to sell weapons, this will then create an effect where other logistics companies will also refuse to sell or ship weapons. Finally, a campaign on Maersk enables us to further our politics by raising the popular consciousness on Zionism and imperialism through understanding the roles of logistics companies. So, targeting Maersk. Maersk allows us to uncover the reality of the genocide in Gaza. 68% of its weapons are coming from the US. Logistic companies like Maersk allow Israel to receive weapons. Targeting Maersk is very, very tangible. Again, this is only 14% of their profit margin. They are able to drop it. And we also, as people in the Imperial Corps in Canada, who our government is sending these weapons, is funding these weapons through shipments like Maersk, we are complicit and we have a moral and political obligation to end this trade. Maersk profits from the genocide in Gaza. We're going to skip over this one. Impacts on logistics companies. So we have been targeting Maersk for a while, and there has been an actual impact already. So we have seen that Maersk was targeted just a few months ago in the Red Sea, if people know why they were targeted in the Red Sea, which cost them a lot of money. So shipping container prices increased, Tesla's companies were forced to shut down for a period of time, and there was a 1.3% decline in world trade since December. So we know that targeting a logistic company has a major domino effect in the rest of the economies globally. This just has a very brief overview over the different ways that Maersk is complicit with weapons manufacturers. And then we go into our overarching strategy. So we have a multi-pronged, multi-regional strategy to try to get Maersk to drop its transport of arms components. So our objective is to have Maersk cut ties with genocide and popularize this slogan and this campaign. Our strategy is to isolate Maersk's Israel portfolio from its bottom line by extracting reputational, organizational, logistical, and financial costs. And we want to approach this through multiple fronts. So we have a narrative media front, a mobilization front, a labor front, and a city and campus front. And if you would like to plug yourself in any of these different fronts, we will then, on our PYM Toronto page, have different initiatives for you to plug in right away. So take action now. I think I got through that really, really quickly. So this is a QR code that I will send the incredible folks for Neighbours for Palestine. But this QR code allows you to email Maersk CEO and tell them to drop Israel. And there's a petition that you can sign on and stay connected by using this QR code. And I will stop sharing and my rambling. And thank you again so much for having me. And I hope that this was beneficial in any way. And I also think I will consolidate this in the future to be a little more easier to swallow.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Shatha. That was very interesting to hear. I think it's important for us to focus beyond the obvious players and also look at corporates and people that enable the genocide. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. I'll now pass it on to Annika to explain our demands.
Okay, apologies, just transitioning slides. But yeah, just wanted to echo once again, thank you so much for that presentation, Shatha. So yeah, in terms of thinking about our demands and moving forward, you might be thinking, okay, why are we organizing this event today? And so for folks who haven't been to a phone Zap before, a phone Zap is a collective way for us to have our voices be heard, to put pressure on elected officials to call for a free and liberated Palestine. And as has been already mentioned, Canada is still actively buying weapons from Israel and sending previously approved weapons exports to Israel. So today, we were asking MPs to sign onto a letter stating that they support an arms embargo now with Israel. We're trying to really put that collective pressure on them so that they follow that within that space as well. So I will pass it to Jessica to talk about how we're going to do that today.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to paste some more links into the chat here for you. So there's a couple of links there. That first one, and this is the image that you see on the left-hand side of your screen. That's this first link. This has got all kinds of contact information for Waterloo Region MPs, for federal members of parliament, and both their constituency office, Hill offices, email addresses. And you'll see here that we've put emojis beside the MPs in the Waterloo region to represent, how supportive or not supportive that they've been. You'll see again throughout that document that there are scripts. These scripts are just guidelines. They are just there to help you if you're not quite sure what kind of message to say, or you're not maybe feeling a bit nervous. That's there to just kind of be something to lean on, but absolutely feel free to tailor that however you see fit. There are also email tools that will send emails automatically once you just fill in your information. Those links are also in that document. And then the screenshot on the right, that is our tracking form. And that's the second link that's in the chat there, the calls tracking form. And so this is what we use to share the number of calls and emails that we make together this evening. So you can kind of use it as a checklist, checking off, who you've called or emailed. I will note too that in that first document, we have a separate script for Tim Lewis. Since he's begun to take some action, he signed on to the letter. He posted about it on Instagram. So in order to continue to encourage him to do this kind of work and to post about it and make it public, we're calling to thank him for signing on to the letter, encouraging him to continue to take action. And you'll also see too, the very last link in the chat there is one to find out if your MP has signed on to the Arms Embargo Now letter. And I will note too, just a couple more things. When you are calling an MP, you can call an MP that's not your MP. It doesn't matter. You can just simply say that you're, a community member. And because we're calling in the evening, just to let you know as well, the chances are probably about 100% that you're going to get a voicemail. So all you need to do is leave a message. And what this means is that all of these offices are required to track the number of calls and emails that come in that are focused on each issue. So that's really what we're trying to do, is just flood those inboxes, whether they're their voicemails or their email inboxes, and just let them know that we aren't going to stop, and that we're watching them and we're paying attention to what they're doing or what they're not doing. So I think we have, we're going to do a sample call. Madrila, did you want to do that sample call?
I would love to. So if you've done this before and you know what you're doing with the Phones app, feel free to mute us, go ahead and get started. But for those of you who want to see, I'll be calling Bharata Chakar right now. She is not my MP, Tim Lewis is my MP, but I'll still be calling her as a concerned community member. Can you hear the phone ring?
You have reached the constituency office of the Honorable Bharata Chakar, Member of Parliament for the riding of Waterloo. Our office is open Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Please leave a message with your full name, residential address, phone number, and a brief description of your situation. Or you can send us an email at bardish.chakar@parl.gc.ca. Thank you.
At the tone, please record your message. At the end of your message, press 1.
Hi, my name is Mridula and I'm a community member from the Waterloo region. I'm calling on you today to sign the Arms Embargo Now statement to suspend all arms and military trade with Israel and put an end to the genocide in Gaza. The International Court of Justice ruled that Israel's occupation is illegal and must end immediately. That means Canada has a legal obligation to stop assisting Israel's presence in Gaza, cancel the Canada-Israel Free Trade Agreement and Strategic Partnership, and recognize the State of Palestine. We've been calling on you for 10 months now to oppose Canada's complicity in the ongoing genocide of Palestinians. The death toll in Gaza is estimated to reach 186,000, given the continued bombings, disease, and starvation that Israel has inflicted. Yet, you continue to do nothing while your colleagues Tim Lewis and Mike Morris have heard their communities and supported the arms embargo. Show your community that you're listening to us and sign the statement at armsembargonow.ca. Thank you.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1 to listen to your